Good afternoon, everyone. It's October 17th, 2018. I'm Eric. I'm here at shtfplan.com, and I haven't really talked a whole lot about the financial end of shit hitting the fan for a while, but it looks as if that this is turning out to be a correct forecast. Now, I've been talking about this for a while. On my old channel, I talked about it ad nauseum and forecasted that Donald Trump would be the fall guy for the Fed crashing our economy. So here we are, Trump versus the Fed. When markets crash, who's to blame? And then down here, dollar crash imminent. China and Japan dumping U.S. treasuries. I'm going to hit both of these, so it may end up being a long video. This was originally published by Brandon Smith at altmarket.com. After a certain length of time examining history in depth, anyone who is honest and relatively objective comes to understand that most of what we are told about our past in the mainstream is completely fabricated. And that is true. It goes all the way back thousands of years. I'm not saying the people back thousands of years, but I'm saying they skew the truth going back thousands of years, meaning they do not tell you what actually happened back then. And there's plenty of material out there regarding this. So we live in a society that completely fabricates history. We learned that much of history is not about posterity or heritage, and more about a continuous set of false narratives prepared or are peppered with half-truths. That is to say, what we thought we knew is actually lies. Now, the reason why I'm not sucked in by all this stuff is because I didn't get a mainstream education. And I didn't have people around me pushing these types of narratives. So it's easy for me to see what the deal is as a result. Unfortunately, these lies can be complex to the point that even many alternative researchers get caught up in their own biases to the point that they lose track of reality. Of course, this is what propaganda and fourth-generation warfare is meant to accomplish. It creates a series of filters that thin out the crowd of truth seekers a little at a time. Those few who make it through to the other side might discover the bigger picture, but when they turn around to explain what they have seen, there's hardly anyone left to listen. And I think this is the case for me. There's hardly anyone left to listen, so I'm not even sure why I'm making these videos anymore. I mean, I suppose if I had big fancy screens and a suit and tie on and all that fucking garbage, I might have more subscribers. But honestly, I think it's my honesty that prevents me from getting these subscribers. Intricate propaganda narratives are actually rooted in simple archetypal memes that resonate with the average person's sense of the story. Think of mainstream historical events as more of a screenplay with a well-practiced set of beats, and the people who draft the screenplay intend we the public to act as an audience with limited participation. Our jobs are merely to continue providing fuel for the machine with our labor until the machine no longer needs us, and to continue perpetrating the fantasies that the machine conjures up as newsfeed fodder. There are many actors that read lines from the historic screenplay and act out elaborate scenes meant to emotionally manipulate the masses. These actors play the role of politicians and leaders of state. They are banking moguls and corporate heads. They are media gatekeepers and manufactured celebrities. If a person sits in what appears to be a position of power, they are seldom what they seem to be on the surface. I'm explaining this conundrum because a lot of people out there claim such things are obvious, yet they continue to fall for the same old bullshit. I am also explaining it because the subject matter of this article is a perfect example of fourth-generation warfare narrative in action. The latest escalation of what I consider an inevitable battle between the Trump administration and the Federal Reserve is not at all what the mainstream or much of the alternative media thinks it is. I have examined Trump's dubious background and associations thoroughly in multiple articles. To summarize, Trump has been tied to globalist financiers and think tank members for at least 25 years. He has nominated and or stacked his cabinet with those same ghoulish people over the past 2 years. To illustrate the severity of the problem, I suggest readers look into people like Wilbur Ross, the Rothschild banking agent that bailed Trump out of his considerable Taj Mahal casino debts decades ago, who is now the Commerce Secretary. Larry Kudlow, the director of the National Economic Council and an advisor to Trump, is a former economist for the New York Federal Reserve. Steve Mnuchin, the Treasury Secretary, was a prominent member of Goldman Sachs. So much for draining the swamp. During the election, Trump's rhetoric surrounded the banking takeover of Washington was highly critical, yet he now associates closely with banking alumni that many conservatives would consider suspicious or untrustworthy in their motives. Some cycle out and are replaced with yet more banking elites. At any given time, there are always several financial elitists looming in the halls of the White House, and most of them are linked to the organizations with a decidedly globalist mission. This fact should make it clear to anyone with common sense that when Trump goes to war with the bankers in his speeches, what he is producing is theater. So when I read the latest news that Trump is calling the Federal Reserve crazy and blaming them for the most recent stock market plunge in October, I have to point out that this is likely even more theater. However, it is theater with a purpose. In February of 2017, in my article, in a battle between Trump and the Fed, who really wins, I outlined why a conflict between Trump and the central bank would actually help globalists in their goal of dethroning the U.S. dollar as the world reserve in a way that makes it appear like a random catastrophe of political chaos rather than a planned event. This would clear the way for a new single world currency system, which some internationalists refer to as the global economic reset. In my article, Trump versus the Fed, America Sacrificed at the NWO altar, published in July, I went even further and predicted a choreographed clash between the Trump and the Federal Reserve. Now it appears that this clash has been initiated. In fact, the mainstream financial media has suddenly reverted to panic mode over a drop of a couple of thousand points in the Dow Jones should give people pause. What this showcases is a change in tone to previous declines in which the media shrugged off or dismissed falling equities as a mere correction. Today's outlets like Bloomberg talk of crisis. It's all theater, all of it. And everyone is falling for it. Why? Why are the people falling for the theater? Why don't people listen to individuals who are honest? Why? Maybe people want the sugarcoating. Maybe people want to be lied to. I don't know. Dollar crash imminent. China and Japan dump U.S. Treasuries. Max Lavo. Same website. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to read part of it, comment, and we'll be done. The two main holders of the United States Treasuries, the countries of China and Japan, have dumped the dollar. Both nations have dramatically cut their ownership of notes and bonds in August, according to the latest figures from the U.S. Treasury Department, released on Tuesday. It appears that a dollar crash could be imminent, as no one wants to buy American debt anymore. Earlier this week, Goldman Sachs said that the United States policy of sanctions and tariffs against major economies, including Russia, China, and Iran, have dragged down the dollar's share of global central bank reserves. Meanwhile, the data from the International Monetary Fund confirms that the U.S. dollar share in the global central bank reserves dropped to 62.3% from April to June. Meanwhile, holdings in the euro, yen, and yuan gained as a share of allocated reserves. And I've been talking about this for years. I guess because I don't have a PhD and a fancy suit on, because I look kind of rough and scraggly, no one will believe me. But, you know, when dickheads with suits and ties, the same kind of dickheads that will throw your fucking asses in prison, say something, oh my fucking God, it's gold. According to a report by RT, China's holdings of U.S. sovereign debt dropped to $1,165 trillion in August from $1,171 trillion in July, marking the third consecutive month of declines. China, the world's second largest economy, has been bolstering its national currency amid ongoing trade wars with the U.S. China still remains the biggest foreign holder of U.S. treasuries, however, followed by longtime U.S. ally Japan. That could all change should the country continue to dump the dollar. So, and it could change should the country continue to dump the dollar. Tokyo also cut its holdings of U.S. securities to $1.029 trillion in August, the lowest since October of 2011. So, as I said many years back, it's really looking like the economic things, the money is going to cause shit to hit the fan. And on top of that, when this happens, wars start. And on top of that, we have unprecedented natural disasters and crop losses. On top of that, we have a planetary body slowly coming in to our part of the solar system. And you add all this together, and man, it does not look good at all for anyone. A lot of people have spent thousands of dollars preparing for such an event. I myself have done so. However, you do not need thousands of dollars of shit to survive. You should be able to survive with the clothes on your back and nothing else. When this happens, I hope you're ready. I hope you're ready for the authoritarians to crack down on everybody. I hope you're ready to see the government kill tens of thousands of people. I hope you're ready to witness your children, perhaps, get killed by these fucking maniacs. Anyway, I hope everyone really thinks about this. I hope somehow I get through to some of you. Your government is your worst enemy. Regardless of what government is on this planet, they are your worst enemy, and they cause you more harm than any other entity under the sun. Hope everyone has a good day. Kill the state. Live free.